Hey everybody, well it's been a hot minute since I have recorded a podcast episode on Elevate Her Soul. Every time I'm gone away from it, I miss it. And then it's gone months gone by, at least the summertime. And every time I come back to it, every time I feel called back to this mic, I'm like, oh, this feels really good. It feels like it's natural. It feels like I'm supposed to be here. Anyways, I am podcasting from a new town. We moved. Lots has happened since I last did an episode. Just to let you guys know, if you haven't heard already, we've located to a little town called Beaverton, Ontario, from Orangeville, Ontario, where we spent a big chunk of our family's life there. And Spirit gave me the go-ahead and the messages to, you got to live near water, Jen. You got to live near water. And you guys know that I basically make 99.9% of my decisions based on my inner guidance or my spirit guides, whatever you want to call it, a higher power source, the universe. Whatever I hear clairaudiently and it feels good and it feels right in my body, that is what I do. And yes, that includes, the whole family. Let's leave our friends behind. Let's leave what we've known for 14 years and let's go and start all over again right near the water, which has been, not surprisingly, a very, very positive decision that my family has made. And so we're looking forward to many more adventures. We've met a lot of people. My kids got some jobs already. We've got some new friends happening here. And it's just a really great, cute community. So shout out to Beaverton if anyone is listening from around here. Yes, I'm new here, but I hope to get to know more people really soon. So that being said, the topic I kind of want to dive in today is something that felt really, really strong last week. And I would say it's about the middle of August right now. And of course, it's always a good time to talk about this. But last week, it felt really important to share this topic with you guys. And I'll do a little backstory. So ever since we moved here, I would say we came here in July, beginning of July. And twice already, I've been sick. And I don't usually get sick. I get sick maybe once every 2 years. I'll get a cold or a sniffle kind of thing. But never to the point where I'm bedridden for a week or having to go to the hospital. So that's kind of what happened, and which prompted this inspiration to come on here and record an episode about protecting your energy. Now, I'm going to I don't want to generalize this and only focus on one specific kind of, I don't want to say person, but, people who are more into spirituality and in that, but also really focus on the spiritual entrepreneurship side of it. And it's not just the mediums and the psychics. It's going to be everyone. So I'm thinking in my head right now, which I don't like to do. I like to drop down into my heart and ask Spirit for the guidance. But whoever's listening to this podcast episode is going to resonate with it. That's the intention we're going to set here for today. And what do you mean by protecting my energy? And it's so interesting to me that I just assume sometimes that everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say protect your energy. So what I mean by that is, because everything is energy, what I'm really talking about is your personal space. Okay, so your aura, your energetic field, your energetic light body. When we talked about the aura in the psychic development podcast episode, where we all have an aura, we all have an energetic biofield, okay? And this is an invisible field, and it's kind of like it makes a constant buzzing sound that you can't really hear, but it's always vibrating. As you hear a lot of in the spiritual community, your vibration, right? So in this aura, and a lot of the times when Reiki teachers and Reiki practitioners definitely is one example that I know personally of how to work with someone's aura and how to identify it. So within this aura, it contains a lot of information. It contains a lot of sensitivity. It contains a lot of misawareness, if that's a word. It contains a lot of unawareness from people. And I'm sure I've talked about this in the past, but let's focus right now on the light workers, okay? So if you're a light worker, you're a healer, you're a Reiki master, you're a psychic, you're a medium, this mostly is for you. But if you're not any of those things, I also want you to listen, because in general, in the population, in the human population, it's very important that you understand how important it is to protect that, that light body around you, that energy that's always humming and buzzing like a big hydro facilitation place. I don't know what it's called, but it's really important that you protect that. Okay, so for me being sick, that was my first inclination. Actually, that's not true. So as a psychic in a meeting, and if you've taken one of my mediumship classes, you know the first class I always talk about protecting your energy, how vital that is as a medium. When you're connecting to the spirit world, you're connecting to unseen forces, and you're working with your aura and your chakras, and that's very powerful, potent energy. And you've got to really be aware of it first. You have to understand that there's this invisible force field around you, and also around every other living thing in this planet. And when you're outside, either you're communing in nature, you're still interacting with other beings, you are in a crowd, obviously, you're still intermingling between everyone else's energy, their aura as well, okay? And in the spiritual community, when you put yourself out there and you're a psychic or you're a medium, that kind of thing, there are humans who have powerful thoughts that do not realize, or they do realize how powerful that thought is, how powerful intention is. And they might have a thought like negative towards someone else, either their jealousy, wishing, thinking their competition. It could be intentional. It could be like, oh, I hope that person fails. It could be as serious as a dark entity that we don't know that is in our energy field. And as a medium, this happens to me a lot. And I probably have told the story about New Orleans when I was first new to this spiritual community of being a medium and having a really hard time managing my energy in New Orleans. And then coming home off the airplane with another healer who identified 17 entities. Okay, so those are dark, shadowy energies that are latched on like thistles or burrs to your energy field, invisible, that you don't see, that want to piggyback on you, or they want to use you as a host. They want to siphon your energy from you for whatever reason. Okay, I could talk for hours about this. I came home with 17 of them. Now that's a lot. Okay, that's a lot of entities. That is not necessary. But in the beginning, I remember having a really hard time managing just walking around New Orleans. It's a very intense place if you've ever been there. And I knew that I needed to protect my energy, but I wasn't sure how to master that. Okay, so there's an identification of it, and there's an awareness, and there's a protection, and there's a mastery of it. So it's a step-by-step process that takes training and practice and cause and effect, and this works and this doesn't work. Okay, so that me coming home from New Orleans with 17 entities was my first wake-up call that what I was doing required a lot of extra, let's call it padding, so we'll like the styrofoam peanuts that you put, that comes to mind when I'm a Friends fan, and then where they're packing up the bedroom and there's stuff and packing peanuts down Joey's pants and punching him in the head and all, and kind of like that. Like we need to stuff our auras almost with light, or packing peanuts, and making sure it's protected all the time. So you're going to get quote unquote hurt, or you're going to get punched in the aura, and some things can go down. And it's very serious. It sounds like it's really funny because, I'm a funny kind of girl and I love watching comedies like Friends. But when you get down to it, and it's not here to scare everyone, but you've got to really be conscious and aware all the time, like brushing your teeth every day, of having a really strong protection mantra or method or tool of protecting your energy, so that you don't end up getting sick or drained, and I'll get into the signs of how you might know that you might have something attached to you. And so this happens to me a lot as a medium. And there are some medium teachers out there, the pros who have been doing it for like 30 years. That's what I mean. Who are like, you shouldn't be tired after you're doing a reading. You should be able to do 10 or more readings a day without getting drained. There's no reason why anything should get attached to you. And this is part of the mastery part, right? So I've only been doing this for 5 or 6 years. And it's a lot of work. Like not just with the training of how to be a medium, but also the maintenance of it, of your skill and your energy field. Like people don't really understand when they get into mediumship that it's really important that you're always aware of this, and you're always like, it's almost like you need shields. Spirit is showing me some shields fighting off the dragons. You need to put the shields around And that reminds me of another story too, is I was taught that method to put your shields up. So you would say shields up and then you were protected. And then one time I had someone do some kind of assessment on me, energy assessment. And I said, it's not working. And she's like, well, it's because you don't have any shields. So I didn't come with any shields. Here I was saying shields up to protect my energy. And there was no shields around me to go up. So like there's many ways to protect the energy, but I really want to focus on like the awareness of it, because even as a trained medium myself, as a professional platform evidential medium, it still happens. And until you master that protective stance, or your inner knowing that you know nothing is going to get on you, I still think that's a crock. I had another mentor tell me, I said to her, how do you not get anything negative in your energy field? How are you never attacked or energetically is what I mean. And she said the best way to protect yourself is to just know with no doubt that you are protected. And I was like, that's fascinating to me. But then I was like, how the hell do you do that? Like, is it a belief system? Is it a mantra? Is it an affirmation? What are you talking about? What do I need to do to master that, to get to that level? And she had been studying, this kind of work for way longer than me. And I just thought, okay, well, I'll try that. So I've tried that. I've tried knowing. I'm like, you know what? And I've like sworn at energies. I've, like, do you understand me? You are not allowed in here. I command that you don't hang out in my aura field and make me sick. I command that I'm protected. I all of these things that you hear as a spiritual worker, that, you got to do these things, but all these little things never worked for me. We started with like, oh, put an energy bubble around you. And I'm not saying don't do that. If that works for you, do that. Like, I'm all for it. It just doesn't work for me, and it might not work for you. So you might be struggling with your energy levels when you leave your house and you come back and you're so drained you don't know why. Like, I can just go in the car, drive 30 minutes to the city to get groceries, go to the store, get a Starbucks, and then drive 30 minutes home, and I'm toast. Even when I do all of these things. Like, I had the cutest little bracelet that someone gave me. One of my former coaching clients and friends, she gave me this beautiful, I don't know if it's obsidian or it's a black stone for sure, and I wear it all the time. That don't work for me either. I just think it's really pretty. They said, put an energy bubble around you, put a Harry Potter cloak of invisibility around you. And these, by the way, you can write these down because these are tools that I was taught and what I've come up with. Also, some of them myself to help some of my students manage their energy. And all of those things, they don't work for me. And that's fine, right? Hopefully they work for you. Hopefully you don't have to struggle like I do on a daily basis with making sure your aura is contained every 5 seconds. And the horrible part, the kind of shitty part, is that like most of the population, I would say like maybe 80-90% of the population has no idea about any of this. And they're not even aware they have an aura. They might think it's hokey. And this is an actual scientific thing. Everyone has a life force energy running through them, which would contain energy, which would create a little egg or bubble around them. And half the people don't even know this exists. So it's up to us, to always be the ones who are making sure that our energy, our aura, our field is, I want to call it a biofield. I don't think that's what it's called, but I like to be sciencey sometimes. That's going to protect us. To be aware of that and be aware of other people's negative thoughts are getting into or penetrating our own systems, our own aura, and making us sick. Okay? So if you're taking any kind of course, like a psychic or a mediumship course, whether it's me or anyone else, I highly recommend that you make sure part of the training that you get is how to protect your energy. And it's never to scare you. It's preventative. And I always tell my students, I only tell you this so it doesn't happen to you. Because I feel like what I went through was obviously a lesson and a training of some kind to stand in my power and learn my own methods of protection and what works for me, and share those methods with other people, not just including my students, but anyone who wants to listen to it. I'm happy to tell everyone. Make sure you get the training to protect, especially in the mediumship world. Okay, so what happened was I probably forgot. It's kind of like taking you forget to take your vitamins. You know what I mean? For like 3 days, I think I forgot to take my vitamins. I take vitamin D, vitamin C, elderberry syrup, all these kind of herbs and supplements and stuff like that. And for like 2 or 3 days, I forgot. And every time I do that, I start to get a little, my throat started hurting. You know, you get a tickle in your throat. You're like, oh crap, it's trying to get me. And I said to my husband, I'm like, oh God, it's trying to get me. So it's kind of like if you forget to take your vitamins. So think of protecting your energy as, I got to take my vitamins every day. So every day you got to wake up and you've got to be in that mode of whatever your practice is of keeping that energy intact. You got to be on it. And yes, some days you're going to forget, right? Especially, I can't emphasize this enough, especially if you're doing mediumship work. Okay. So if you're working with someone who's not me, which is fine, make sure there's training about that. Okay. It's really important. I'm just going to plug in my laptop because it's going to die here. All right. Okay. So I got sick. That's what happened. I got sick, and I knew a few days before something was up. Something was off in my aura because I had a healing done. This is another thing we got to be really careful about as light workers, healers, mediums, and psychics. We got to be really, really picky. It's not negative or bad to be picky. It's actually a good thing to be very picky and choosy because you're using your intuition, which is your innate gift, which is based, all your other gifts are based upon that foundation of intuition. And if it feels like something is off or doesn't align, or you feel obligated or guilty to help someone else, let's just say someone's doing needs to practice their healings on someone. If you don't feel like it's a good idea and you're intuitively, I don't know if I should do that, and you're doing it of obligation, that's your first clue that you don't need to do that. Okay. So as a healer, yes, we need healings, but we also really need to be careful of who we allow to heal us. Okay. That's also super important. Again, this is all from experience. So if this is not your truth, that's cool. This is my truth, and this is proactive. This is something that I can help you with before it happens, and you could prevent it. Or if this has happened to you in the past because you are a medium or a psychic, you probably know what I'm talking about and you can relate to this. So I knew a couple days before because number one, I forgot to take my vitamins for 2 days. And then I always feel heavy. So when I ever have an attachment or an entity, which is just some yucky, negative energy that does not belong in your aura. So if you think of it like someone threw jelly on the TV, and the jelly doesn't belong on the TV, or the TV don't work so well, right? So there was some jelly on my TV, and there was some on the aura. And I always know because it actually, if you're watching the YouTube video, you'll see it's actually things attached here. So always on the right side of me, right in the little crevice of like my neck down to my shoulder. They attach behind. That's a really good spot where they like to attach. Just because you can't see it, right? So it's kind of like their hiding spot. And because I'm only clairaudient, I'm not clairvoyant in psychic ability. So I cannot see these entities. And if you're not clairvoyant, you will not detect them. And that's what they like. So they like to sort of latch on and like suck your energy, make you tired. And you might see that your eyes are getting kind of droopy and you feel heavy and dark circles and you're pale and you just kind of feel blah. I'm not saying don't go see a doctor. I'm just saying this could be contributing to your health. It affects your health. If you have attachments or negative energy attached to your aura, it can affect your health. It really can. And it might sound like kooky, but this is what happens. And a lot of people who are sick mostly have negative entities or attachments on their energy field that they don't know of, and it's bringing them down, and they just don't know it. So for me, starting to get sick, I'm like, oh, they're getting me. So I had a healing done and started to feel worse and worse and worse. It was from someone, I sought this person out. They did not approach me for a healing, although that has happened before. And I'm very picky, but I thought, this is really cool. This is something that no one's ever heard of. And I think it was called a cosmic dragon entity removal healing or something like that. I'm like, oh, I need that. If I need some fire burning dragons to get this shit off me, we're going to do this, because I'd never heard of it before. And it sounded very intriguing to me. So it was done remotely from the States. And the lady was nice. I met with her on Zoom, and then I didn't feel any ill well. I didn't feel, anything was bad. I just was like, I'm just going to do this. So I laid on the bed, and then the next day I got sick. Like, yes, sometimes when you have a healing, or like Reiki in particular, sometimes you could get sick after, because what the intention should be for energy healing is to remove or bring up all of the crap and the toxins and the emotions that you're hanging on to and release it for you, because it's not serving you for you to hang on to. And so, yes, I wasn't surprised that I got sicker. I'm like, oh, the healing really worked because I got very sick. It's not saying the sicker you get, the better the healing. Not at all. Because then I had to get another healing from someone I really trusted after that completely healed me. So, I was sick for a week, actually longer than that. I was in the hospital. Like, if I'm going to the hospital, there is something, I'm feeling terrible. I'm feeling like crap. Like, I am not going to the hospital unless I feel like I'm at the end of my life. And I felt like I was dying. And no, I did not have, I was negative. But then, so what happened was my husband convinced me to go to the hospital. And I was like, I'm so weak. I don't even care. Just take me there. I don't care. Get there. They put me in isolation because they think I might have And I was so weak that they came in. They're like, oh, we're going to take your blood. I'm like, go ahead. They're like, oh, we're going to give you some drugs. I'm like, go ahead. We're going to give you, test up your nose into your brain. Go ahead. Like, and even the doctor was like, you know what? You really should get this jab in your arm. And I was like, you know what? I don't care because I'm so sick and I don't care. Just do whatever you want to me. So there's one sign also that, your weakened system, not only your weakened immune system, but also your weakened energy levels, where you completely obliterate and do not stand up for everything you believe in. That's also a sign too, because you can be coerced, it's like they can whisper little things in your ear kind of thing. So I didn't fight back. I didn't stand up for anything that I believed in the hospital because I was so weak. And just being in the hospital is another. And so then every time I go to the hospital with like legit physical symptoms, so I had a cough, I had a sore throat, I had difficulty breathing, I had weakness, I had a whole bunch of things, and they just assumed it was that. And they did all these tests on me. And of course, you're there for 6 hours, and the nurse was great, which just never happens to me in a hospital. And they said, oh, everything's negative. They can't find anything wrong with me. And I'm like, you are going to send me home, aren't you? Because they said they literally cannot find any piece of evidence that I am sick. Even though I look like I'm dying, the nurse is like, you look like bleep, and I just felt horrible. And you know how you get that little that CO2, CO whatever on your finger, and you're measuring your breathing levels? Mine was fine. Mine was great. Even though I couldn't actually breathe properly, and it hurt to breathe, and I was struggling to breathe, and all these kind of things. And so they didn't find anything wrong with me. Of course they didn't, right? That's one of the signs too, is that you're very medically ill. And I'm not saying, please don't be like, oh my God, Jen just said, don't go to the doctor. Don't advocate for myself. No, I did not say that at all. Please do all of those things. But for me, it's an energy where I have experience with this, so I know this is what happens. This happens to me a lot, unfortunately. So I go home and I'm crying because they can't find anything wrong with me. And everyone's like, isn't that a good thing? I'm like, no, because I know I'm sick, So I get home. I'm like, oh my God, I feel horrible. Like, I felt worse than I did when they sent me home from the hospital. I'm like, it's got to be something in my energy field. It finally woke me up. It's got to be something invisible that obviously the MRI and the CT and all these blood tests and these things they stick up your nostrils can't detect, because it's invisible. These energies are invisible. It's energy. It's draining. It can make you sick. I'm telling you, it can make you sick. And so then luckily I had a beautiful, like I mentioned earlier, I have a beautiful client who was able to do a healing on me that was the most gentle but most powerful healing I'd ever have done. And the next day I was well. So a couple lessons in there for all y'all who are listening to this episode, like so many things that you learn. And I hope, I don't want anything like this to happen to you in your mediumship journey. And I'm very proactive with that in my classes for sure. My class starts in the fall, by the way, online, mediumship, the essence of mediumship. But I'm kind of surprised. I've taken classes with the Arthur Finley School in the UK, and I've worked with, Chris Drew and all these amazing people. And I want to work with Tony Stockwell, and I've worked with Thomas John, celebrity medium, and they've never said anything about protecting energy. So I don't know if it's just me, but just even for like purposes of not letting your energy be drained when you go. I know there's a lot of people who call themselves empaths, out there. And this is the same thing happened to you. I'm not saying there's entities attached to you, but I'm telling you, people are stuck in your energy. And it'd be very helpful for you to learn these techniques to make sure before you go out that you protect your energy, whether you're studying to do any kind of this work or you're just hanging out and going for a walk down the street or going to a restaurant or whatever it is you're doing on an airplane. Just be aware all the time. Be conscious of where your energy is at all times. So your aura, and I've talked about this in the past episode, is you're about 4 to 6 feet all around you like a big ball, like an egg. I call it an egg. And it's very important that you are not allowing anything to penetrate it. And then if you do know something that's penetrating it, to get help, because I've had mentors too tell me, well, you can do this on your own. You need to step in your power and you have to remove these yourself. Do you think I haven't tried? I have tried for 5 years to figure out what works for me. And sometimes the things that I mentioned earlier have worked, like, me telling it no, and, acknowledging, but letting it go, and all these things that they teach you. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So it's always helpful. I believe, I'm a big believer in having people around you supporting you and not making you feel like, you're no good if you can't do this work yourself. I really feel, yes, it is very important to be empowered and to be able to help yourself, but we can't do it all ourselves. For me, a day is like, I have to protect my space, my home, my bedroom, my current office. I have to sage all the time. I have to make sure it's clear. I have to take my beautiful crystal singing bowl and clear it out once a day. And if I don't do that, the energies accumulate. If I'm not like, okay, I'm stepping in my power and I'm, trying with my intention and I'm commanding and I'm doing, I don't consent and all these things, sometimes it doesn't work. And I feel like it's really important that you feel supported and someone who doesn't like shame you for not being able to do this on your own. And if you are able to do this on your own, wow, I'm like want to shake your hand and give you a big hug, because I'm so proud of you for being able to master how to protect your energy. I really do. I kind of also, Spirit just popped in here a little bit and also just reminded me that breath work is a really fantastic way to fill that energy, fill that aura up with beautiful light energy, keep it safe. It's like an air filter. So I'm gonna try that. I'm actually taking a breathwork certification course right now, so I can add that to my coaching list of services to help, elevate our consciousness and transcend all this yucky low vibration, right? And a lot of this energy is coming from what's happening on the planet right now. So we all knew of this. Well, we didn't know. I predicted some of this stuff, and some of the stuff is coming to light, and some things I wasn't even told, because I think I would be overwhelmed if I knew everything that was coming or I shared it with all of you. But it just feels like it's just everywhere. And so I wanted to share with you guys and let you know how important it is that you protect your energy and maintain it and acknowledge it and be conscious of it all the time. It's like a responsibility, especially if you're working in the mediumship field, especially. And I'm curious to know why those amazing teachers that I've worked with in the past have never once mentioned protecting your energy. And I'm definitely not saying that they're not great teachers, because I've learned from the best, and I hope to continue working with the best. I'm actually working with James Von Prague pretty soon, so that's pretty exciting. But I hope that helps you. I hope you get something from this episode, and not to scare you, but to be aware. So the good news is, after that healing, I'm well. It was like 24 hours after. I was like, oh my gosh, what did you do? It was amazing. Like, you need to bottle this stuff up and sell it and help so many people, because it was very, and I don't have her permission to share, but if I do, I will have her maybe on the podcast of another episode and let you know how she helped heal me so much. Like, it was not Reiki for sure. I'm a Reiki master. This was not Reiki. This was not a cosmic dragon entity removal for sure. It was nothing. It was nothing like that. It was indescribable, but it was helpful. And I feel like, I'm like, can you do that to me every day? Because I need help maintaining this. So I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are keeping safe, and I hope you guys are finding a way to be present in the present moment, and always, being aware where your energy is and your vibration is, your thought patterns are, what you're thinking about, what you're talking about. And I'm not saying keep it positive all the time, but just be as much as you can. Be in the present moment, be in your truth. And yeah. Okay. I'll talk to you guys soon. Love you guys. Bye.